I revamped how magic works in D&D and made an entire skill tree for this brand new magic system. But this skill tree isn't just limited to spellcasters. I'm going to show you how your barbarians, monks, fighters, and rogues can all tap into this ancient form of magic and change your D&D games forever. Hi, my name's Gabriel Galway, this is The Ugly Goblin, and with over 15 years of experience in roleplay games, I'm no stranger to making the old skill tree to enhance their gameplay. I've even invented 3 core skill trees to transform Dungeons & Dragons into an entirely classless system, and I'll share those with you at the end of this video. But what my homebrew world has been truly missing for the last 10 years is a unique way in which magic interacts with the beings of this world, and a way for living and non-living things to interact with it. I've toyed around with D&D's optional rules for spell points, which removes spell slots, which is fun in its own way, but it didn't quite scratch that itch. I wanted to create something that feels fresh, something that feels wild, chaotic, and maybe a little bit dangerous.
Don't you know that danger is my friend?
Like, say, the magic system in Dungeon Crawl Classic. But I also wanted to create a system that can be tapped into by anyone, regardless of their class, regardless of them being a spellcaster. I wanted, say, a barbarian to have the option to open themselves up physically to magic and allow it to enter them, to change them in weird ways, buffing them and fueling them with arcane energy, but maybe at some kind of risk. And as much as I like the schools of magic, and I'll never forget when my players actually destroyed 2 of these schools, which completely changed the history and the trajectory of that campaign and will never be forgotten. But as cool as the schools of magic are, I kind of find them hard to visualize. I don't know if you feel the same way. I think some of them lack some bit of personality. Now, don't get me wrong, they completely serve their purpose in the game, but what I'm looking for in this magic system that I'm creating is something that feels more alive, something that literally feels like it's breathing and a living entity. Because in my own world, that's exactly what it is. Magic is alive. The god Arcana is magic. Even though, funnily enough, ironically, she has actually been unalived. But her heart still beats and literally pumps magic into the world and fills it with wonder and chaos. She originally created magic to be a living contradiction to the laws of the universe, to create a counter to law and order. Magic, originally in my world, was chaos. Literal chaos. But when Arcana was unalived, the wizards of this world, desperate to get their fix of magic, created a weave around her heart. A weave that would both keep her heart pumping, but also filter her magic into the world in a more orderly structure, and thus the schools of magic that we know were born. But what if that weave was removed, or if the god Arcana was brought back to life? What if magic reverted back to what it originally truly was? That is what I want to create. And I want to create also ways that people can still tap into magic, even if it is wrapped up in a weave and everything else. I still want people, depending on how you want to run your system in your own world, I still want both options. I want the option for this to be raw magic that anyone can tap into at any time it lives and breathes in the world, but I also want it to be an option in a more restricted magic system that still has schools of magic. I want this to be an alternate ancient way of tapping into magic so that barbarians, rogues, and other martial characters and non-spellcaster characters can access magic in strange and dangerous ways. So even if Arcana is on life support or you're running in an original D&D setting, I think it's still a fun concept that some people out there have learned how to tap into what is potentially true magic. In a way, it doesn't require study or having been born as a, say, chaos sorcerer. And so magic used to belong to everyone. Everyone could access it. And so anyone who uses this skill tree, who gains access to it, have found these ancient ways into tapping into this magic. This is a more ancient and old type of spellcasting. People who practice this have learned how to open up hidden gates within themselves and allow that old magic to flow through their body and shape it in strange ways, or allow them to expel it into their weapon attacks, or even modify spells that they cast. But once these gates are opened, there's no going back. There's no way you can close them again. But also, why would that be a problem? To answer that, I'll have to describe exactly what it is that flows through your body when you open up one of these gates within yourself. You see, it's not just like generic magic that flows through you. The way I see magic is like white light, composed of a rainbow of colors that each have their own personalities and traits, like individual flavors of a meal. These individual branches of magic are known as strands, or strands of arcana, and each strand typically gravitates towards particular traits, or will often alter the nature of whoever or whatever they connect to into something more desirable for that strand. Let's take a fire strand, for example. This strand of arcana typically likes passionate and hot-headed people, and it embodies heat and the concept of rebirth, ambition, and rage. You can imagine a strand like this being attracted to the likes of a barbarian, or if forced into, say, an unlikely victim, could turn a passive and very well-mannered young man into an ambition-fueled, highly motivated doer. Strands rub off on people and kind of change them in weird ways, amplify certain traits that you had into things that become completely unrecognizable. But it's not typical for a strand to be drawn to an individual with undesirable traits. Typically, in my world of Gostar, all creatures are born with a natural connection to one of these traits, and unless an individual goes out of their way to expose themselves to other strands, this connection won't change. Similarly, an individual who doesn't choose to explore or strengthen their connection with that strand that they have, their affiliation with that thread will never amount to much. Though, of course, there are individuals out there who are born with a natural, strong connection to their strand, and they will typically go off to become mages, sorcerers, wizards, bards, all that kind of like. They will go off and pursue that natural talent. However, as I'm going to show you in this skill tree that I have, a strong connection to a strand doesn't always have to result in you becoming a spellcaster. Similarly, I'm going to show you how to cook and eat monsters in Dungeons & Dragons with my new Kickstarter, the Ugly Goblins Cookbook. Please do go check it out if you haven't missed it. Links are below, and I'm genuinely so excited for this project. I'm doing all of the art myself for this with the help of my very, very talented fiance. And it is packed not only with options for cooking, but dozens of unique ingredients that all have their own unique art and effects, and they can all essentially be treated as their own consumable magic item. Like, how cool would it be, for example, to weaponize the eye of a beholder? And there's also just tons of rules for, say, exploration, fishing, mining, and foraging, so you can now go out and hunt your own items while traveling from place to place. So there's not just food from monsters, you can get stuff like rare herbs, you can get rare minerals, you can get rare fish. So if you do have a moment, do please go check it out. It's in the description below, and just hit the notify me button so you don't miss it when it comes out in October. Thank you so much. It really means the world to me if you can support this project. So like I said, there are many ways to expose yourself to these arcane affiliations, the strands of Arcana herself, but this process leaves you incredibly vulnerable. So to gain access to this power, you'll need to open up gates within yourself, and actually those gates are literally the nodes in this skill tree. So every node you unlock and every ability you gain from the skill tree is actually a physical gate within your character's body where mana and energy and arcane threads start to move through. I don't know, I just think that's cool as hell. But like I said, once a gate's opened, it's open for good. You can't close it, you can't go back. So that fire strand strand that's worming its way through those hidden gates within you. It might very well be welcome there. You probably want it there, snuggling into the nooks and crannies of your very being that it can now reach. And if you're already a hot-headed and passionate person, how bad? They're just a little bit amplified now. And I don't know, can you see the direction this is heading? Should your strand change from, say, fire to cold, now every power and ability you've purchased on this skill tree will now switch from being fire-oriented to cold-oriented. And there are nodes in here that literally change your personality entirely. So if you've invested heavily in the embody node, for example, and took on all of these fun roleplay features, your hot-headed and burning passion features that allowed you to, say, roll initiative with advantage or cause the burning condition on creatures you deal damage to. And also, yeah, I made like a whole bunch of cool unique conditions for this too. Don't worry about it, it's super cool. Whatever. But those traits, they may now switch to the meticulous and the focus traits, which aid you in checks, say, that require a steady hand, or on saving throws to maintain concentration, which, as a barbarian, might not be super useful. And all of a sudden, your character has had this huge personality shift, this huge narrative shift in their being. So now they might go on a quest to regain their old strand, or another player might see this as an opportunity to now multi-class into Druid. I think this skill tree might actually be the coolest skill tree I've ever made. Like, it's literally just this empty shell that can be filled with whatever magical flavor you want, whichever magical flavor you're connected to. And I've created 13 strands of magic to go with it. So you've got your 9 basics, which are fire, cold, lightning, tech, weird, physical, nature, toxic, and air. And then you've got your very, Final Fantasy holy and unholy strands. And then you have some exceptions. One is
chaos. That's all I know.
Your strand fluctuates constantly, or void, which means you have no strand and are kind of like an anti-mage of sorts. And I've also made like an entirely new class that's entirely based around being a void type, and it's called a Spellbroken. I'll link it below, but it's actually a really old video. It's one of my first videos I've ever made, and the concept's a little old, but I think the idea and the concept is super cool. I've always adored the concept of like anti-mages and people who could literally eat magic, like Natsu from Fairy Tail, if ever you watch the anime. But then all of these other strands interact with each other in really fun ways, kind of like Pokemon types, but far less complicated. So don't worry, it's not too bad. Each strand has a strand that they counter, and a strand that counters them. So each strand that you can see here has a strand that they counter and a strand that counters them, represented by this very sexy little chart I made. But also, each strand, like I said, has their own personality and types of powers and unique effects that they embody. So cold is precise. It's all about slowing, stopping, stealth, and being caught up in the fine details. Whereas lightning is all about speed, stunning, paralysis, and being independent. And also the personality traits that you gain from, say, a lightning strand really do embody what it's like to be lightning. You've got the hyperactive trait that gives you an additional bonus action per turn, but you can't concentrate on spells or abilities and tend to forget simple details. Each of these features, each of these personality traits that you can gain have one heavy pro and one heavy con. So another lightning trait, for example, would be independent, which gives you a +2 on attack rolls while no allies are adjacent to you, but a -2 on attacks while an ally is adjacent to you. All you lone wolves out there, this one's for you. I just think these are super fun, and I've made 3 personality types for every single strand type. And these personality traits that you can gain access to are just part of one node in this whole skill tree. That's just one little branch of the skill tree that you can gain access to. I have made a total of 22 nodes in this skill tree, and they are all super rich and juicy and have amazing features, if I do say so myself. But also on top of that, each of these nodes can be purchased multiple times times, either increasing the power of that node or giving you access to more and more unique features within that contained node. So let's touch on a few of these features to give you a little bit of a taste, a little bit of a sampling of this skill tree. So the central node that you start your skill tree journey in is called the Gate of Resonance, and it adds your strand type's associated damage to all attacks that you make. And this damage goes up with each purchase. And yes, all of these strand types that I've made have an associated damage type with them. So if you're, say, a lightning strand type and you purchase this node 3 times, all your attacks will deal 3 additional lightning damage whenever you hit someone with a lightning attack. But your counter type is cold. So whenever you take cold damage, you will take 3 more additional cold damage. So it's a kind of fun back and forth thing. The more you invest in this, the stronger you become with that elemental affiliation, but the weaker you become to its counter type. On the opposite end of the spectrum, one of the most powerful gates here that you can gain access to is the Gate of Death, which allows you to spend an action to open up this gate, kind of like a barbarian activating a rage. And when you do, you make yourself vulnerable to all types of damage, but any creature who takes damage from you becomes vulnerable to your Strands damage type. But there's also gates that completely change up how your strand type functions. So there's one known as the Gate of Entropy, and what that does is anytime you deal damage with your strand type, you actually heal that much instead. So you can be a wizard who has a fire strand type, and you can throw down a fireball, and instead of risking the life of your monk in the center, like in a crowd of goblins or whatever, your monk might actually be on the precipice of death. And when you throw down that fireball, it creates an AoE of healing instead of destroying them. There's also so many features here. You got gates that allow you to infuse weapons and items with your strand's power, abilities that allow you to absorb it, dismiss it, or even change up your strand type regularly. I honestly had so much fun making this skill tree, and you can go check it out. There's a free sample over on my Patreon if you want to go check it out. I make so many skill trees and other systems over on Patreon every single month. I've literally just released a martial arts skill tree, which is so cool. You got to check it out too. But that is the best way to support me and what I do. Patreon is literally why I can, do YouTube as a career. It's why I can keep making videos for everyone out there. It's because of my incredible patrons who just back me up every single day. And in return, I will create whatever system that they ask me to make, and you're all incredible. I just want to thank each and every one of you. Thank you so much for supporting me and what I do. Thank you so much to my hero goblins, Tom WDW and Bridge on the Lake, and to my Giga Chads, my fancy goblins, and my pajama gobbos. I love you so much. I want to tell you every single time in every one of my videos I make how much you mean to me. And do, if you have the time, also check out my Kickstarter. That would also be an incredible way to support me. It's coming out in October, and I am so excited. Oh, and one last thing, I'm actually also doing a giveaway. The amazing team at RPG has given me a massive collection of their books to give away to all of you out there. So if you want to join that competition for this month, down in the comments below, write #break and tell me why you want one of these books. And at the end of this month, I'll be giving away one of these books. So stick around, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that opportunity, and I'll see you in the next one. So this giveaway is still part of August's giveaway, and I will be announcing the winner very, very soon. So get your comments in so you can be a part of that giveaway. It'll all close very soon, and I will be releasing one of these lovely break books behind me to one of you. Okay, bye.